Good morning, friends. Or if you're watching this in your pajamas with coffee in hand, bless you, holy multitaskers. We see you. The saints are probably in sweatpants too. So, today we celebrate the feast of the Assumption of Mary, the moment she was taken up, body and soul, into heaven. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Father, my soul is a mess and my body is headed for a nap after lunch. How do I get where Mary's going? Great question. Let's break it down. First, Mary's Assumption is not just a divine elevator ride. It's a revelation about human destiny. Yes, it's a revelation about human destiny. In a world where we are obsessed with upgrades, new phones, faster Wi-Fi, better filters, Mary reminds us that the real upgrade is holiness. The real upgrade is holiness. Saint John Paul II once said that we are not the sum of our weaknesses and failures. We are the sum of the Father's love for us. And Mary's Assumption is proof of that. Mary did not earn heaven by being perfect. She got there by saying yes to grace, repeatedly, messily, and faithfully. You see, my friends, the Assumption is not just about Mary. It is also about us. It's about the human body, the human soul, and the divine stubbornness that says, no, you are not trash. You are not disposable. You are not just a collection of bad habits and student loans. Let that sink in. In a world that treats people like products, used, abused, and tossed aside when they don't perform, God says, no, you are so valuable that even your flesh will be glorified. Even the body you're trying to suck in for pictures is destined for resurrection glory. And that is what the Assumption whispers to us. My friends, Assumption is not just a doctrine, it's a revelation. Mary, in her humility, in her obedience, in her yes to God, becomes the first fruit of what all of us are called to become. Glorified human beings. Now let's get real for a second. We live in a culture that is obsessed with the body, but only if it is perfect. Only if it is young. Only if it fits into a size 2 or flexes on Instagram. And what happens when our bodies age? When they ache? When they betray us? We feel invisible. We feel like failures. We feel like Mary's Assumption is some fairy tale written for people who did not have stretch marks, anxiety meds, or 3-day migraines. But here is where Mary flips the script entirely. Mary was not assumed into heaven despite being human. She was assumed because she was fully human. Mary knew grief. She knew fear. She knew what it was to lose a child that wanted him dead. She knew what it meant to carry a burden too big for one person to bear. And before you ask, no, I'm not talking about your teenager's attitude. Though Mary probably prayed for patience with Jesus too. And yet she said yes. She said yes to the mess, yes to the mystery, and yes to the madness of love. In the gospel today, we hear Mary's song, the Magnificat. My soul magnifies the Lord, she says. Now that is not a song of triumph from someone who had it all figured out. That's the anthem of a woman who knew what it was to be poor, pregnant, and scared out of her mind. But she sang anyway. And in her song, we find our own voice. Because here is the truth, my friends. We are not meant to be half alive, scrolling through life like we are buffering at 2% battery. We are not meant to walk around with our souls disconnected from our bodies, our hearts disconnected from our hands, our dreams disconnected from our reality. We are meant to be holy ourselves. And that is what the Assumption promises. Not escape from the body, but the transformation of it. It is not about getting rid of who we are. It's about becoming more of who we truly are. So the next time you look in the mirror and think, oh, not this. Remember, you're not just looking at a reflection. You are looking at a temple, a sacred vessel, an assumption in progress. Even the parts of you hide. Even the chapters of your life you would rather forget. Yes, even those chapters are being taken up in love. Because God did not assume Mary into heaven because she was perfect. He did it because she was open, because she was light, because Mary trusted enough to surrender. And the same invitation is open to all of us. So take heart, my dear friends. You don't have to be perfect to be holy. You just have to say yes. Say yes to the one who makes all things new. Remember what John Paul II said. We are the sum of the Father's love. And Mary's assumption? Well, that's the receipt. And while you are at it, remember that God's not done with you. Not even close. He's just getting started. So smile at your stretch marks. Forgive your failures and dance in your kitchen like Mary did after the Annunciation. Because the God who assumed Mary's body into heaven is already assuming yours into glory piece by piece, day by day. And for the love of all things holy, go call your mother. No, seriously, go call your mom. Happy Feast of the Assumption, my friends. May you rise. May you rise in all the ways that matter. Amen.